Moochdocking. Ever heard of the term?
It's when you're RV camping on your friend or family's property, and whether it's just for the land you're occupying or the utilities you're using, you mooch.
And that is what we are currently doing. Let's tell you more about it. We're Christine and Kevin, and in previous videos we've shown you what a typical RV moving day and arrival day looks like. And now we are parked here on a family member's property where we've been for a little while so we could enjoy the holidays together.
And that's typically why you would moochdock, to hang out with friends or family for a bit. The only real requirement is that they have space for you, and it helps to have permission. We would definitely recommend that part. So after the invitation, you want to make sure that they actually have enough space for you, because a lot of people don't understand what that means always, and we've got a pretty big rig.
So if people insist that we can fit, we've taken to asking them if a semi-truck can fit, and if they say yes, then we feel comfortable coming. Some people just can't really visualize how big our rig is if we don't portray it to them in that way. So whatever the size of your rig, just make sure you give people specifics about how big your rig is and how much space you need.
It also helps to make sure that there isn't an HOA or any other rules that prohibit an RV from parking on that property.
And while you're talking about space, that should include not only the space that you'll be parking in, but the logistics of getting into that space. They might have a wide open area for you, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be entirely straightforward to get to.
Kind of like the S-curve driveway we had to negotiate to get in down here, you might want to have a conversation about tight spaces, maybe some low overhangs in places like a roof line or trees, or sometimes even power lines. We've had to actually move one with a wooden board to get under it at another location.
And the first time we arrived here, we had to trim some trees. So just be aware of those things, have the discussions. It can help to look at the entry and the site on Google Maps, or ask your host for some pictures.
They can probably give you some tips on route planning so you can find the best way in as well, because getting to a house isn't always the same as getting into a campground.
And also think about how you're going to exit and the route that you're going to take, because sometimes that turns out to be more problematic than getting to the location.
If you have a much smaller rig than ours, you probably won't have as many of these issues, but having a big rig, you really need to think about a lot of these things.
And that might even include deciding not to go. That could be unfortunate, but you might have to say thanks, but pass, because it just won't work. You know best, so just think about what your rig can do, where you can fit it, and hopefully you can have a great time moochdocking.
Now let's talk about potential hookups. So you might have no hookups and it's a lot more like boondocking, or you might have full hookups, or something in between. Here we have both power and water. So if you don't have access to water, you might just have to fill your freshwater tank before you come, or you could fill with a water bladder from someplace off-site. Thankfully, with this plus an extension, we can reach all the way to our RV. Here we actually have full 50 amp RV hookups. My dad actually worked with a local electrician to get this put in. At another location that we've been before, they actually ended up having a spare 50 amp breaker already installed that used to be for an electric range, and it worked perfectly for putting in my own 50 amp hookups while there. So if they don't have RV hookups for you there, it is possible to put them in. It's not real cheap though. If you don't have these kind of hookups, let me show you what else you can do. Other options you might have if you don't have full RV hookups would be a 50 amp or 30 amp, depending on what kind of rig you have, to a regular 20 amp adapter. And then you can plug this end into a power outlet at your host's house. I would really recommend getting a heavy duty extension cord. These ones are designed to handle 20 amps versus 15 on the thinner ones, and then you just plug right in. Another thing that we've done in the past is you can get one of these Y adapters that has a 50 amp connector for your RV, and then it splits out to a 30 and a 15. With another 30 amp to 15 amp adapter, you can actually plug two of these extension cords in, one to each side, and then put them on separate plugs on separate non-GFCI breakers. If you don't follow that to the T, you will pop something as soon as you plug it in. This is a way that we've been able to get 40 amps of power at a regular house without RV hookups.
The one thing we don't have here is a sewer connection. It's just not possible at this location.
But we have had them before. In fact, we even had to use a 50-foot sewer hose to make it work, but in the end it actually worked out great. Here we use a 42-gallon portable waste tote that is actually the same thing that we use for boondocking, and we just pump out to it with a macerator pump.
One of the times we visited here before we had this set up, we actually rented a 300-gallon tank from a local company. They brought it out, set it up, and we just have them come periodically to pump us out. And that also is a great option and worked out really well, but it is more expensive than this. When you're moochdocking, also talk about expectations with your hosts. Talk about how often you're going to be hanging out, how much you'll be seeing each other, eating meals together, maybe taking turns cooking, just so that it works for everybody and nobody feels like it's too much or you're overdoing it. There's a good balance there and everybody will still be able to get their day-to-day things accomplished.
Don't wear out your welcome and try to contribute to utilities a little if you're using them. Here it's been cold, and so not to use too much electricity, we've been filling our propane on a semi-regular basis. Also, try to find a way to thank your host. Take them out, give them a gift, or just otherwise let them know that you're thankful for the opportunity to use their property.
In addition to having a great visit with your friends and family, there are other benefits to moochdocking. So as RVers, we live in smaller spaces, but now we have access to a house where we can go hang out with family and friends in larger rooms, larger spaces, big dining room table for everyone to fit around. You know, if I'm cooking and I want to do a lot of things in an oven at once, I can use the large residential oven in the house. There's also a large yard here that the kids can run around in and play.
Since we don't have full hookups here, we are going into the house to do laundry, which is actually really nice because I can get this entire basket done in just 2 loads, whereas this would probably be 4 loads in our RV washer and dryer. I do have to carry it back and forth though.
Same goes for the dishes. We've been trying to use some paper products a little more frequently here temporarily, but sometimes we do have dishes to take over, and that way we don't have to use more of our own water and have to pump out again more frequently. So another benefit of being here.
It's also especially nice that we can go inside and have regular showers.
And nice, long, hot ones. Especially this guy who takes like the longest showers known to man.
I do not have to admit to anything.
We are pretty lucky that in our RV we can take some pretty great showers, and fairly long ones for an RV, but again, without the full hookups, that just doesn't work here. So it's nice to go inside, and the kids especially are loving the tub.
In the end, enjoy your time with your friends and family and just be a good guest like you would in any other situation. We're grateful our family invited us and lets us stay here every time we come through the area.
So that is all about moochdocking, what it is, what it's like, and how we've been experiencing it here, and we hope that you found it interesting.
We'll see you all on the next adventure.
Bye!
Bye!